I made 20 copies. So one, two.
So does that need a pen? Oh, okay, perfect. Oh. I will hold those as well. You guys can share one, but there's an application attached to it, so there's a typo in that application. I typed everything up in like 6 minutes.
Okay, before we really get started, let's go around and introduce yourselves. I think you all know I'm Nona. And Jerry, will you start with?
Hi, I'm Terry, if you don't know me. I do preschool here, I love kids, and I'm super thankful that we get to have some kid programs up and going. This will be my plug. Please be inviting families. We want to be ready to teach kids, and we need kids to teach. So invite your friends, families, everybody you know, and thanks for being here, guys.
I'm Karen Lundeen. I've been serving our kids ever since the pandemic started. And I've been asked to keep the kid park going for those kids who don't go downstairs, whether it's the age range or whatnot. But I make sure they have quiet seat activities. They feel a little special with some treat bags and snacks. So,
Yes, and we really want to thank Karen. She has done an excellent job. I think it started out as part of the welcoming committee, and she's, and we're asking her to keep on going. So that we're going to try to coordinate lessons so that the kids are getting the same thing up here as they will be getting downstairs. So that's cool.
Can you hand me that
Okay,
bulletin?
Brian.
Right there on the, yeah, thank you.
That's it.
happy birthday to Brian.
Okay, let's go back to the back table back there.
I'm Ethan Holmes. I just turned 18 in January, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to do more acts with the kids.
I'm Bernard Robinson. Jerry is my mother, and I love her very much, and that's why I'm here.
I'm Grace Wolf, and that's my mom. Chelsea, and I'm my second mom. I'm Tabitha Wolf, and I'm one of the kids. I'm Grace Sayer.
Bill.
Cassie. I'm with her.
Sandy Cassie and I'm with Kim.
I'm Liz Godfrey, been around for quite a few years.
I'm Christina Rowling. Happy to be here.
I'm Beth Brooks, and I've been here for a long time.
Kurt Gustafson, the empty seat next to me is my wife, Colleen.
I'm Carol, and children are my heart.
And I'm Stephanie Craven. I have 2 children.
Okay, and back in our sound booth, are you guys with us or just hanging out for our sound booth?
Both, I guess.
Okay, so who are you and
My name's Joey, and I'm just a dude.
I'm Luke, and my dad's the pastor.
welcome? Yeah,
I'm
and
Caleb, and I'm the pastor's son as well.
Caleb is doing recording, right, Caleb? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that eventually, this is going to be on the line. But, so we are excited. Thanks for being here. We're ready. We hope to start Children's Church again, our children's ministry again. Jerry Reynoldsson, Stephanie Craven, and myself have been meeting, figuring it out. And it was really exciting to be able to think about starting teaching. Christina and I were talking, and I've been teaching a long time. Andy Edgren, who is now, I don't know how old, but he was in some of our first classes that we taught. So, I've been, you probably teaching longer than all of you. So, I mean, longer than how old you are. So anyway, I do love children. And why are we trying to get this teaching going again? We have a desire for age-appropriate teaching time for children, a desire to serve the parents of the nursery children so they can have a more meaningful worship experience. We're going to do church service nursery 0 through 3, and we're going to do children's church 4 years through 2nd grade at this time. We hoped to be able to get into Sunday school, but it's just not going to happen yet. But eventually we hope we'll be able to get back into Sunday school for younger kids, but that's not going to happen at this time. So we need you starting March 14th for nursery. That's next Sunday, and I already have one person signed up for nursery next Sunday. So we'll need another person for next Sunday. We'll go through all of what expectation are, but if you don't know, we have to have 2 adults whenever there's a meeting of children. So, kids at high school and up are considered adults when it comes to teaching and being with us. We'll be starting Children's Church March 21st, and we'll be starting with the Easter program. So that'll be wonderful. That'll be wonderful. We need teachers and helpers for Children's Church, and we need nursery attendants. Today's training, we're going to go over the workers' application, the background check explanations, COVID safety expectations, and you can read. I don't have to go through all of this, but we do want to think of this as starting fresh. Especially with COVID, we have to do things a little differently than we did. So, and we have to be more diligent in cleaning and all kinds of other things. Okay, so our first thing that we really want to look at is the Sandy Baptist Church Ministry application. And that should be the 2nd page in your packet. It's very simple to fill out. We do want to call attention to the best way to contact you. We've learned that email is not the best way. It used to be, but it's not. So when you fill this out, will you let us know? Do you want a phone call? Do you want a text? Do you want an email? And then also in that question, have you received Jesus as your Savior? We want our children to experience a Christ-like, having a Christ-like experience. So we want people who love the Lord to be serving there. So that's important for us. We also have to know about your crimes or your convictions. Unfortunately, we would need to further investigate if you happen to have a crime in your life that you were convicted of. We're not asking you to sign this yet today, but you're welcome to. We do have a new handbook that we're putting together, so it would be to your best what? So that you would know all the expectations to read that. And we're going to be able to send it electronically to you, or we will have a hard copy. And there is a sign-up sheet that when we're all done, Liz, where is that? Okay, that you will sign up with your email and your, if you want a hard copy, or if you want an electronic copy.
Should I start passing it around?
No, let's put it somewhere, maybe back on a table back there, so when we break, you can do that, you can sign that up. Any questions on our children's ministry workout application? It does say confidential. That will be kept confidential. It'll be filed, and it won't be accessed to anybody. But those in charge. Okay, looking at the next page, children ministry expectation. These are what I'm going to expect from you. Review and familiarize yourself with SBC's Children Ministry Safety Security Handbook, which we just talked about. And then I want you to complete your Children's Ministry Workly application, and you have to undergo a background check. And Stephanie, can you help us understand that for sure?
Okay. So I'm actually just piggybacking off background and applications that Patrick had in place before he left. And so we, as a church, do use a planning resource called the Planning Center, which is where we'll be scheduling out your availability, which will provide notifications to you a week in advance of your service schedule. And in partnering with that application, there is another application called Checker. And so within the Planning Center, I can just check a box, and it'll send you a request to participate in a background check, which will have a disclosure. You can choose to reject it if you don't want to participate, though it is necessary to be involved with children's ministries, so be very clear and open about that. And it literally just comes back clear or hit. And so we don't get details of it, it just shows if it's clear, and then if you're good to go, you're good to go. So it's completely confidential, we're not going to get into the granulars of any interesting background stuff, and it's just a very simple thing. So you will be getting an email address pushed to, or email pushed to you to participate in that at the time. So, and that'll be after, of course, you fill out the application and stuff like that. So any additional questions when you get it, you can let me know, but I'm a little bit of a novice of the whole system myself, but I'm working through it.
As we all are. As we all are. I had a thought. Anyway, so be expecting that email. Okay, when you're arriving at church and at your duty station, Sunday school is officially at 9:15. We're not doing Sunday school, and Sunday school nursery is 9:15. Worship service nursery is 10:15. Actually, that should say 10 o'clock. We want you there at 10 o'clock because church, no, we're right. No, I'm sorry.
We got it backwards.
We
Sunday
got-
school should say 9 o'clock, starts at 9:15.
Okay.
That was the error.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, if you're, and then worship servants, children's church is 10:15 also to aid with children's sign up, and we'll get into that. That's a whole new process. And then all children will need to be checked in with parent children safety tag system. Again, that's a new process that we'll be doing here. What you will need, cell phone in case you need to contact parents. When parents register children, they will register their cell phone. Our old system is not working anymore, so we're using this as our system. We will just take parents' phone numbers, and then if we need them, we will text them, and we'll remind parents to put the cell phone on vibrate rather than going. Okay. This is one of my pet peeves, one of my big things I'll stand up on my soapbox and talk about. Do not use your phone except to call or text parents if you are with children. You are there for children, not to be talking to your friends. So, and that goes to also with that is don't ever take pictures of the children, unless they're your own children, but don't take pictures of the children. Lots of parents don't want children's images out on the web, so don't ever take pictures of your children. Do not visit with other staff. You are here to guide and interact with the children. Again, if there's no kids, or if the kids are really involved in playing, and occasional talking is okay, but you're not there to visit and figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to go to coffee or something. You're there to make sure those children are being engaged and enjoying their time. There's a minimum of 2 supervisor rule in all classes and child care settings, so if there happens not to be two, you need to contact, and at this point, it's me, and we'll figure out what we're gonna do. We'll either close the place or find somebody else to go with you. Jumping to dismissal, just things that you need to think about. Remain in the classroom until all children have been picked up. And then after all children have been picked up, clean and sanitize areas. Again, you're there for the kids to their very last moment. Please don't busy yourself picking up and cleaning until the kids are gone. Okay. Additional COVID expectations, staff and volunteers are required to wear face masks at all times during the services, during your time that you're working. COVID-19 screening are required for all children, and again, we'll get into that. You have to maintain your COVID health log check-in, and temperature checks have to happen, and that's kids have to be at 100 degrees or less. And then we try to maintain the 6-foot distance by best possible for the kids. That's hard. I was talking with Sarah, my daughter, last night, and she's a teacher in a private school. And she's like, oh, that 6-foot distance is so hard. But it's just one of the things.
As best as possible.
As best as possible, yes. Yes, so. All right, let's move on to the safety and security COVID-19 addendum. Okay, in addition to infectious control policy and procedures outlined in the ministry safety handbook, these are additional policies that we need to hold to. So once you get your handbook, be sure to read through those. They're very important. They're, we haven't changed a lot, but they are, as I refreshed my mind on them, it was like, oh, I didn't realize that. So think through those things once you get your thing. Okay, all children must complete the COVID-19 health screening prior to participating in the children's class. Staff and volunteers will be responsible for maintaining COVID health log. You have a picture of that health log in your packet. It's under the ouch report. It is a full size. I shrank it down for today. So it'll have the date, the child's name, and their temperature. And then you have to ask the parents the 4 COVID questions. And again, those are in your packet. We will have a notebook set up so that you are able to do this with ease. Jerry has hers set up for preschool, and it's just a matter, she says, once the parents realize what you're saying, they'll say yes, 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 and we'll, or no, I guess it is, and they'll, but for the first, I mean, these are the same questions we have to answer if you're going to the doctor or the dentist. I don't know, Beth, you probably have to answer them. Yeah, so. Okay, you have to wear your face masks. You have to wash and sanitize your hands before going into the classroom. So that will be a new expectation. Only staff and volunteers and children are allowed in the classrooms. Parents are to drop the infants and toddlers off at the nursery counter, and then the older children will be dropped off in the hallway once we get going there. So that's another new, no parents in the rooms themselves. So the nursery will now have a strict no sharing policy. We all their lives have yelled at them to share, share, share. And now they cannot share. So once a toy has been played with, used, you must place it out of sight in a bin, and we'll have that bin for you to be sanitized after service. Again, we know children are children, so if they persist in using that same toy that you need to put away, take a minute to wash it, sanitize it, we'll have the supplies there, and then provide it for the other child. We're not meanies, but we do have to try to follow directions. And then the large items such as the slide can be wiped with disinfectant wipes between children. Not the easiest process, but again, we're getting to have services to our children, so it's exciting there. Sunday school and children's class will attempt to keep the children 6 feet apart. Children will be encouraged to wear the face mask during class over their nose and mouth. I know children. They will attempt to do lots of different things with that mask, but we need to encourage them to do it. No supplies, crayons, glue, tape, so on, will be shared during class. Each child will have their own tote of items. So we'll make sure that those are in place, ready for you to use. Shareable supplies such as scissors will be sanitized after each use. And then staff and volunteers will disinfect and sanitize all hard surfaces and toys utilized during the class once the children have been picked up. Any questions so far? Yes?
Is the mask requirement for,
5-year-old and up.
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just say, I know it sounds a little overwhelming at first to hear all of this, because I know personally, when I was getting the preschool back up and going, and I read the 63-page document that was put out for recommendations, I was very overwhelmed. But really, once you get going and your system is up and going and it becomes a habit, it's not as cumbersome or overwhelming as it seems as you're just hearing it all. So don't be scared off by this. It's really okay.
Okay, so here's our COVID-19 health check questions. Will you answer them, please? Has this child been exposed to a person with positive case of COVID-19 in the past 14 days? No, okay. Has the child been exposed to a person with a presumptive case of COVID-19 in the past 14 days? No. Is the child experiencing unusual cough, shortness of breath, or fever? Does the child have symptoms of diarrhea, vomiting, headaches, sore throat, or rash? No. Okay. So, and the parents will have to answer no, and you will check then question 1, question 2, question 4. You'll check yes or no. It's most likely always going to be no, because hopefully they're not bringing their child. But again, talking with my daughter Sarah last night, they have had cases where a parent will suspect that they have COVID, bring the child to school, and then go have her COVID test, which then quarantines the whole classroom, because you don't know if that child had COVID or not. So we do have to be on alert for that. Yes?
So I know one of the things in the hospital that chokes us up is you ask all these questions and then someone says, well, I mean, I have a cough, but I have a sinus infection, or I have allergies, or I have, and then everybody just stops and stares like, well, crap, they didn't tell us what we're supposed to do at that point. If you have this one symptom, does that knock you out of being ready to come into this class? So as an organization, we need to decide what that means. Like if someone says, you know, well, I mean, she has a runny nose, but we also have environmental allergies, the pollen's high. Do our workers know that that means, I'm sorry, we can't have her come in, or are we making exceptions? And who's making an exception, and is each person allowed to just decide that that's an exception? So
Okay.
just
To clarify
clear
things.
that up.
Yeah.
right off the bat.
That is addressed in the policy manual, but I don't know for sure what it states. I do have that. Stephanie, do you have a hard copy of that? Okay. Steph did our retyping of our policy manual, so thank you to Stephanie for.
We only had a hard copy.
And the hard copy was of 1999. We were all surprised at that, but
I guess I'll say a couple things. The COVID questionnaire does say unusual cough. So, and Beth is right, we do need to decide what an exception we made, but unusual cough would be, you know, if it's unusual for you to be coughing in the spring because you don't have allergies, that would be unusual. If you are coughing or sneezing because you have pollen allergies, that's not unusual. So I would still answer the question, no. With regards to, and again, the elders have to agree to it, so we're still reviewing the handbook, but we'll send it out. But there is an entire whole page on infectious diseases in the handbook, and it does address bodily fluids, which does include like snot and stuff like that. So kind of like at what point would you have to return a child to a parent and choose to not do it? So I do think there will be a little bit more detail in here, but it does talk about how we want to handle that with gloves and clean it up and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more detail in there, but for right now, I think we'll try to hold as close to this as possible. I am certainly not a medical professional, so I cannot diagnose or treat anything at this point. So.
Just note, if the kid is in question, send them to their parents. I will have stuff up here that matches what they're doing down there, so they can be contained
Right.
with their parents. So there is the option, hey, oh, I'm not comfortable with having your child here, but there's activities for them to do quietly in their seat beside you.
Except that if they have a questionable something that we're not comfortable with them downstairs, then are you sending them up into the sanctuary with,
We have that,
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
now we're going to get upstairs with all the other population that maybe should be exposed. So if they're not comfortable, if you're not comfortable with them being in a children's area, because then that probably means that maybe you should go home today. Because if you're not gonna expose the children, you shouldn't be coming up to expose all of our elderly.
right, because we're still in a COVID situation.
Exactly.
And that is, the check-in now is going to be in the lobby, in the foyer. So, yeah, so that we'll deal with that parent at that time. And that could be hard. I used to be a teacher, I can be hard. I was known as the meanest teacher in Furwood, but I also was the most requested, so. Okay, any other questions? Thanks, Beth, that was really good clarification. Okay, on to criminal background. I think we have already dealt with. Security tag system is our next topic. Anything that you see read in your notes are new proposals, and they have not been okay. Okay.
I'd say light gray, people that are written in color.
Right, but the elders do have these. We sent them to them yesterday afternoon. So several elders have not had time to deal with them yet. But Mike, in his response to it, said, these look like things we just have to accept. It's not anything new and unusual. So, okay, security tag system. We are going to start checking in children in the foyer. And they will have matching name tags, one for the child and one for the parent, and probably a third one for the child, the nursery child's bag. So we'll have these supplies ready and going for you. The children's tag has to include the child's name, the parent's name and phone number, the age of the child, and the classroom number that you're sending them to, or that they're going to go to. Children will then come in and be in worship service for the first set of worship songs, nursery children will go to nursery. Children's church children will come and be with the first part of worship. And then we will take children's church down at the end of the first set of songs during the sermon, and we'll keep them down until the parents come down and get them again. That gives the teachers a longer period to make a cohesive lesson and do well with that. So, and that's been, Mike approved that. So, okay, and then parent gets the tag with the child's name and the classroom number, and then the parent has to pick the child up at the classroom. And it should be the parent that dropped off the child with the coordinating tag. At this point in our life of Sandy Baptist Church, we don't absolutely have to follow that because we're all one big family. But we're gonna grow and we're gonna get parents who might have a child custody going on. And therefore, you know, the mother that checked them in has to be the mother that takes them home, not the father that came in and said, he's my child, but you didn't check them in. So they have to have that sticker with the name and the thing on. So eventually, we're gonna grow again, and we can do this electronically too. I know there's churches that do that, but at this point, we're gonna use marker and name tags. So, any questions on the new system of checking kids in? Okay, general security, this was a little surprise to me rereading, and I really wanted to include it. During services, Sunday school, and other scheduled activities, children are not allowed to wander campus. Well, we know that. But then, if you see an adult just roaming around the children's area, they need to be questioned and asked to leave. The bottom door is closed and it's locked. So there shouldn't be people, especially if it's past the restrooms. They shouldn't be down there. So if you notice that, please ask them to do something, or come get one of us. Come get an elder, come get a security person. We do have security people too, so. Okay, down to the 2 supervisor rule. An adult or a minor working with younger children should make every attempt never to be alone with that individual child. If a situation should rise, counseling, educational therapy, parents may sign a written consent allowing their child to work one-on-one with an adult. At this point, we don't have that, so you need to be aware. You need to have 2 adults with you at all times. The children's director or senior pastor must approve such arrangement as one-on-one counseling. All right, our classroom and group settings. In any setting where the children are 6th grade or younger, 2 adults should be present. If not, you need to let me know, and I will close that class. So, or find help. Okay, infant and toddler care. We have to do the security tag system, and then restroom assistance. Diapers should be changed in a public area, the same nursery room as other workers, and then older toddlers must be taken at least 2 at a time to the women's restroom adjoining the nursery. So if men are helping us in the nursery, this is the time you'll need to let the women take the kids to the restroom. Diaper changing, there are specific directions for diaper changing in the handbook. So again, when you get your handbook, be sure to read over those. Okay, for the 4 and 5-year-old, which will be our children's church and the 1st and 2nd grade, same thing goes. They've got to be checked in, and then the children must remain in their classroom until picked up by the parents. And then the children must be taken at least 2 at a time. That means 2 children at a time to the restroom. And then that's adjacent to the nursery, and you stand either outside the restroom or just inside the women's restroom, but never go into a stall with a child unless they request help. You know. Okay, and we're not going to cover 3rd through 6th. Any thoughts on that?
Just a thought.
Okay.
One of the things that I've come into with training in that regard is just to hold the main door open so that you're visible. So if anyone walks by, they know, oh, there's kids using the bathroom right now.
Right.
And then also, you're not in a place where nobody can see you.
Right.
So
Right.
just hold the door open and let them go.
Right. And especially if the boys are insisting on going to the boys' restroom, then you again need to stand outside the door or have your male helper, which we probably won't have. I mean, we have 2, 3, 4 of you here, thank you, 5 of you, but, you know, just be really aware that there could be problems in the bathroom.
No, I have a question just real quick.
Okay,
If a child is in the women's bathroom, you know, in this situation, does that mean that it's closed down to other adults at that time? So if somebody comes down to use the restroom at that time, do we have to ask them to wait a minute?
I would think that would be wise, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a good,
Especially if it's a young boy in the back, you using one of the stalls there in the women's bathroom.
right. So to repeat that question, if the children are in the restroom and another person from the congregation wants to use the restroom, we need to ask them to wait until the children are out. Okay. All right. Again, another little surprise for me, I had forgotten on minor injuries. And you have an ouch report there in your packet. This needs to be filled out twice, once for the parents and once for our record keeping. And this is just a bump, a bruise, a cut. We need to follow up on what those are and how they're doing. So we will have a supply of these in the nursery and in the classroom. And be sure to fill out these ouch reports. And at this point, we'll have a box for them in the supply room, which is also Jerry's room. So, yes.
General guidelines on determining if something is worthy of writing out an ouch report, because I mean, Phineas hits his head on just about everything.
Right.
Are we saying like, do we say if there's a visible mark afterwards? Is it only if it like is, you know, if it breaks the skin? Like, what's the guideline? Or do we write it down every time they bonk their head?
No, I would say a visible cut, a visible bright red mark that doesn't go away. The typical injury here in right up here is a cool cloth, a little first aid cream, or a Band-Aid. So if you're gonna put a Band-Aid on it, yes, it should be written up, I guess would be the best. What do you all think? Help me out here, yeah.
Yeah, I think if it's visible, and then I also think that I don't know if this has it, but I think it's good for the one we're keeping that the parents sign it.
Okay,
Because I've heard, again, we are family, but we may, get people where a kid later in the day hurt themselves worse and said, oh, it happened at church, and then they, make the church pay for it, when it's like, no, it was just a little scratch here, it wasn't their wrist, kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
right,
So I think that would be good to have them sign it at the one that we keep.
right. That would be a good addition. So to repeat that, the ouch report, both pieces of the ouch report should be signed by the parent, acknowledging what they see.
Really quickly, I would just close the loop on Dakota's question. I would say if there's anything that you're treating, you should fill out. If a kid bounces his head and just goes about his business and you're not stopping to treat anything, then you wouldn't want to fill out a report. But if you're going to take the time to treat any sort of injury, you would fill out the report.
Okay,
Beyond like just comforting.
right.
Right. Like, if they might be startled and you'll calm them down, but if you're not like icing an injury or, bathing in it, then I don't think you need to fill out a report.
Okay, any other thoughts? Okay, we're moving along. Well, I hope to get you home by 1 or out of here by 1. Our child abuse prevention policy, again, it's in the handbook. Appropriate touching. Above all, it is imperative that you are always careful to make sure your conduct is appropriate for the age group you work with. touching a minor's breast, genital area, inner thigh, or clothing covering the immediate areas of these parts of the body is strictly prohibited. The exception to this would be the hygienic care necessary for infants, toddlers, or the disabled. Infants and crawlers may need to be patted, held, hugged, or rocked. Those are appropriate and expected. Toddlers through 2nd grade also need to be hugged and held from time to time. 3rd grade and above haven't grown too old for a caring, affirming touch from an adult. However, care should be taken with this age group to avoid any contact that could be misinterpreted. Appropriate touching includes handshakes, a pat on the arm, a shoulder, or a side-to-side hug. Children of this age should not be held or on the lap or on the knee. So, any questions there? Okay. Discipline. We are not here to discipline children. Workers are to never spank, hit, grab, shake, or otherwise physically discipline anyone. Physical restraint should only be used in a situation where it's not reasonable necessary to prevent an individual from physically harming himself or another child. Again, if you're in the nursery and the two are running each other, it's time to stop them from running at each other and trying to slow them down. And you have to do that with physical restraint. Or if you've got a child that's 4 and 5 and running out of the building, again, you need to stop them. But it needs to be done in a loving way and as least, what do we call it, least enforcement, I guess, or as you can. No, we're not here to think. Disciplinary problems should be reported to the ministry leader or to the parent or to the guardian. And again, I've been there. If you have the same child over and over and over that's giving you lots and lots of trouble, then you need to talk to the parent. Maybe, I don't know, we have to solve problems, but we also, we need to be loving, but we also don't need to let that parent, or let that child rule the roost. You need to be able to teach your lesson if you're down there teaching lessons. All right, I think that's about what I have. Be sure on your future study of the handbook, be sure to look at emergencies, handling blood and bodily fluids, diapering procedures, and responding to an allegation of sexual or physical child abuse prevention policy. That's a mouthful, but it's all laid out. If we happen to have something go wrong, there is a process, and we need to be following it. Okay, any questions? Yes?
I missed the first part. So can you tell me with you say always 2 adults with children?
Yes.
We say husband and wife, is husband and wife okay, or are they considered one unit? Because I've known churches to say that that's not okay. Husband and wife is one person.
I have not thought through that. There was a little bit of discussion of that in our meeting, but yes, Sandy.
I think it was years ago, but we did have an incident with a husband and wife, and legally, they do only represent one because they can't testify against their spouse. So it's really in our best interest, if like Bill and I serve together, we would need a third.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
separate in different rooms and with other people.
Okay. So that's be something we will need to clarify. Thanks. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Okay.
Are we going to be advertising this, like beyond the building here? Are we planning on like advertising
would think,
The Cravens and us.
yeah, you guys are the only, and maybe the Wolves and,
Yeah.
and there were a couple of others. Yes, we need to get it on the website if nothing else.
Okay.
And I need to figure out how we do that. Is that you, or Mike, or secretary, or
Yeah.
Stephanie.
Stephanie?
Stephanie.
Yes, Stephanie Craven, or
Not-
T, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so, and then I'm sure, I want to get it in the bulletin. Dakota, are you thinking elsewhere? What do you,
What if we tried the same newspaper? I don't know if they're.
Yeah, I'm thinking something bigger like that, you know, whether it's social media or newspaper or something.
Are we ready for that, or could that be drawing the attention to certain boards that are not ready to do that?
Well,
I mean, we may have to be careful in the beginning.
to,
We need to check on what,
yeah.
we don't want Governor Brown sending the troops in here.
well, yeah.
We're religiously exempt. I know, unless they like recall that a while ago, churches were exempt from having the mask mandate mandatory. It's still highly recommended, and we still do it to abide by government laws. But I'm fairly sure, unless they recalled it, we're still exempt from requiring.
Well, that's something for the pastors and the elders.
Right, and at this point, we have 20 people who have showed interest, and that's exciting. Thank you. I was thinking maybe 15, and I have one other person who couldn't make it today. So, yes, I will look into more on that. Yeah. Yes, Karen.
I've had a parent ask me, is a shield acceptable instead of a mask? If your child is uncomfortable with dealing with a mask.
And Jerry is shaking her head yes. She's our COVID expert.
Thank you,
So,
I just wanted to make sure
yeah.
to make a child comfortable.
So a shield is acceptable as a face covering.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments?
Where would you like our,
You have to go home, you have to read the policy before you turn it in. So I want it Sunday morning, next Sunday morning, or bring it to the church. But I want you reading that policy before you say, I will commit to this again. Again, you guys, I kind of made a joke that I'm in charge. I'm not in charge. I'm one of 3 of the committee, and I'm not taking on children's ministry. I had a desire to get children's ministry going. And so Stephanie, Jerry, and I have been working on it. But we are the children's ministry team. So, yeah, it's exciting to be able to do this. We do need to know when you sign up, where are you interested in? We do have 2 teachers for children's church. We would like to have 4. And then we need 2 people each nursery time. So in order to make Sunday work, we need a teacher and a helper and 2 helpers in the nursery. So we need at least 4 people each morning. But with 20 of you, we have 5 Sundays clear. But yeah, that's, I'm excited to see you all here. Any other questions? There are 2 sign-up sheets. Brian, I forget, one is for the,
How often?
right, how you want your form. What's the other one?
How often you want to serve?
Right, how often you want to serve. Okay. So be sure to sign those 2 before you leave. And thanks for coming. If it was a normal time, we'd have lunch right now. All right, great. Thanks.